And it is time now for our December Progressive Agriculture Foundation safety message. Joining us here this month, Jana Davidson with Progressive Agriculture Foundation. Jana, it's great to have you back on. How are you?
I'm doing great. Always wonderful to be here, Jesse.
I appreciate the time. It is a busy holiday season, no doubt, and that is the focus of our December safety message is being safe during the holiday season. And I think just a general, Jana, there's so many things going on during the holidays, family over, especially if we're, having visitors over with COVID, the pandemic and whatnot, and maybe a little bit of lessening of that in some areas. But overall, just there's so many things going on around the house. It's busy. It's just a busy time of year, isn't it?
It certainly is. And, we want to ensure that we're going to make the holidays, as I always say, merry and bright. And we want to ensure that a trip to the emergency room is far from sight because there are so many dangers, whether, outside your home and prepping for your Christmas decorations inside your home and
Mhm.
from decorations to cooking, everything in between. There's a lot of dangers this time of year. So we should switch things up and try to say, "'Tis the season to be safe."
I like that. Well, let's talk about a couple of things that are very top of mind. And I think the first one to consider electrical and fire incidents. And there's a lot of hazardous things that could, catch fire in the house around the holidays.
Yeah, so the big statistic I want to share with everyone that the National Fire Protection Association says that on average, about 200 homes per year have a fire due to Christmas trees. So if you have a Christmas tree, if you have a real tree, make sure you are watering it, you're taking precautions. Um, the other thing is when you're purchasing your lights and different things for your tree, make sure you're buying them from a reputable source. I always like to look on the tag and make sure that they're approved by some national recognized labs. I think Underwriters Laboratory, if you see the UL, a lot of times that that's a quality product. So, make sure you're looking at that. It's probably something we neglect to do on a day-to-day basis. Inspect those indoor and outdoor lights. Look for any broken sockets, look for frayed wires, loose connections, and then just discard them. Sometimes we all try to not have any additional expenses this holiday season because of all the presents and other things that we need to purchase. And so we're like, oh, we'll just get one more year out of this. But it's just best to toss it and get something new because it is going to be more expensive in the long run if you have a home fire. And, we can't put a price on a life that could be lost because of that. So better be safe than sorry when it comes to that. Never overload too many outlets with too many electrical devices. This could cause a fire. My mind completely goes to the Griswolds and the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation movie. Don't do that. Clark can tell us a lot of what we should not be doing, and that is definitely one of them. We use a lot of candles this time of year. Again, can lead to fire. So there are a lot of options where you can use battery operated ones or ones that are not an open flame and give you the same effect. But again, with little ones close by and just the opportunity with so many Christmas decorations hanging by that catch fire, you're eliminating that factor.
Mhm.
If you use your fireplace frequently, consider hanging decorations somewhere else other than your mantle. We always see that beautiful Christmas scene with all the stockings hung, but that could again lead to a fire if you're going to be using that frequently. So you might want to move them around because stockings and a lot of the Christmas decorations are very flammable.
Mhm.
And then again, I've already mentioned about watering the tree. We have one of my daughters is assigned to that. That's her duty every year. We always have a real tree. So we always make sure that she is watering it frequently again, because we want it to last and be here throughout the holiday season. But we also want to make sure we're safe and not having any instance where a fire could occur when our lights are turned on. So, and then last but certainly not least, as far as decorations, we only get this time of year for a short time and it seems to go by in a blink of an eye. So we want to enjoy those decorations as much as possible. Keep that tree lit, keep those decorations on and view all that beauty. But when we're going to bed each night, it is important to unplug everything, or at least have it on a timer. You don't want to keep it on all night because, again, while you're sleeping, a fire could occur.
Very, very true. Another thing as well, when we talk about decorations and think about that, that's one way that slips and falls can occur around the house as you're putting up those decorations, or just in general with weather conditions around the outside around the house. Slips and falls are a big issue as well.
Yes, yeah, the weather is changing. Mother Nature has a mind of her own. We've had a couple beautiful days here, and then last night, very slippy in the driveway. So keep that in mind when you're hanging your decorations outside, or even just in the home. There could be a lot of tripping hazards. So you always want to be keeping areas clean and clear when you're getting ready to decorate. So another big statistic for you here is about 5,800 individuals each year go to the emergency room due to injuries sustained from falls while they're decorating their home. So to avoid these slips and falls, it is important to practice ladder safety. Things like always having those 3 points of contact when you're on the ladder. So if one foot's off the ladder, your other foot is on and your hands are on. If one hand's off, both feet are on and the other hand. So that's just an important practice. There's also the 1 to 4 rule when it comes to extension ladders. And that is for every 4 feet the ladder rises, you want to move the base out 1 foot from the structure. So that's something important to keep in mind. And just making sure, like we said, if it's kind of nasty weather outside, know that things freeze up and things can be a little slippier than normal. So take your time, investigate the situation first before you just, you're in a hurry and you climb up there and you wind up coming down the ladder quicker than anticipated.
Well, I think slips and falls as well important for kids who are playing outside in the snow and the ice, and it's a good reminder for them to be aware of their surroundings as well when it comes to that.
I completely agree. So, and again, as adults, I always like to say this, we are role modeling that for them. So the more that we do things safer and we encourage safe behavior, the more likely that they're going to follow in our footsteps as well.
And that's very, very important.
Watching.
Yeah, very, very important. Jana, let's talk about cooking. Obviously, a lot of folks are busy during the holidays, making a big meal. Maybe they're baking. There's a lot of things going on in the kitchen. And sometimes, the old saying, there's too many cooks in the kitchen can happen as well. And, maybe things get forgotten or something gets burnt if it's left in too long. There's so many different things to consider when cooking during the holidays, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And you use that saying, sometimes there's too many cooks in the kitchen. I always say we need to make sure there's at least one cook in the kitchen, because we tend to put something on the burner, something in the oven. We're making something and then we get distracted this time of year. Maybe we're back to the computer trying to work on that order of Christmas gifts. We're throwing something in the laundry. We're wrapping presents. There's so many things that can pull us away from those tasks at hand. But really, when we're in the kitchen, we need to avoid distractions. We need to avoid multitasking and leaving things unattended, especially if we have little children at home that, again, are curious and coming in there to see what mom and dad are cooking on the stove, or, the dangers around the different sharp utensils that we use and so forth. So always pay attention to your surroundings. Ensure we have working smoke alarms. That's very, very important. Test them regularly. That's always important. Sometimes you might test them without even trying to test them, depending what you're cooking in your kitchen. But make sure they are working, because these really can come in and save a life. Another thing is fire extinguishers. Make sure we have one in the kitchen and make sure it's accessible. Many times we will have that working fire extinguisher somewhere in our home, but it's not there to grab quickly if needed. So, and make sure, wherever you're placing it in that kitchen, whether it's under, in a shelf or under the sink, that it is going to be within reach of that stove, where you don't want it to be blocked, that an incident could be blocking you from getting that fire extinguisher. So keep that in mind. Baking traditions definitely bring more little ones, more family into the kitchen during the holidays. But again, we do need to supervise children. There are big appliances we're using. I was just on a call earlier this week where a gentleman had mentioned about a big mixer. He saw a photo of a child. Mom was mixing up a cake, and that child was there to try to, lick the frosting off the beaters. Well, if that large equipment, he's talking about the photo and all this, some people might look and say, oh, that's so cute. If that child would accidentally pull on that plug and that appliance would come down on them, they could be severely injured or die instantly, which is really scary. So, keep your eyes open for them, especially around, again, knives, other sharp objects. And we also want to make sure we're not sending anyone home sick from our cooking during the holiday season. So remember that, there are some foodborne illnesses. There are, we want to practice good hygiene, always washing our hands while we're cooking, when we're touching meats, raw meats especially. And, get that food thermometer. Make sure that everything is cooked as it should be. And so we're making sure that we're not only putting a delicious meal in front of our guests, but they're going to be healthy as well.
Well, and lastly, Jana, you mentioned the little ones in there a little bit. We can't forget about the kids, especially the younger kids. When it comes to the holiday season, Christmas, they're getting presents from Santa, and maybe they get a little too curious. We've heard the stories, something ends up in their mouth that shouldn't, or there's so many different things to consider. So it's important to not forget about the kids during the holiday season as well.
I completely agree. So I always say that if you are at a store, if you're looking at a present for a child and it does have an age recommendation, know that that's on there for a reason. You might look at that gift and think, oh, 3 and under, there's nothing that could harm my, grandchild, my child, my niece, my nephew, and I'm going to purchase this because I think it's going to be suitable. But what we tend to forget is sometimes those may have small parts. They may have magnets, those little button batteries in them as well, different types of magnets I've mentioned. So we have to be careful because kids are curious, and they are things that we might have a hard time as adults opening and getting into. Those kids can sometimes find a way to do it. So we need to consider that when we're purchasing a gift. And, also practice safety when, especially with our older children, not leaving toys out that, if an older child receives something that might not be suitable for a younger child, to make sure we're always keeping that out of their reach, keeping things off the steps. I hear about that a lot, we talked about slips and falls, because new toys are often left on the staircase or somewhere where they can easily be tripped on and someone could fall over. Legos, I hear, can really be a pain to step on. So, just being careful about that, and just taking into account the dangers when we are purchasing gifts. And it's also a good practice. There is a way that you can go and also stay up to date with any recalls. We will notice around the holiday season, there will be some toys, there will be some things that are recalled. So you can sign up to get those alerts. I think it's the Consumer Safety Council. You can go on there and you can find out, if any toys would be recalled for a certain reason, or even just other devices for that matter.
Well, a lot of things to consider, Jana, with the holiday season, and of course, beyond the holiday season, Progressive Agriculture Foundation, you guys are keeping kids safe by teaching them the dangers around the home, around the farm, and of course, I know folks can learn more progressiveag.org and find out more about upcoming safety days as well, can't they?
They sure can. Go to the website, find out more. If this is something you want to bring to your local community, what better gift? It doesn't have to be around the holidays, but to bring the gift of safety and health to the young ones that are our future. So you can apply. Our trainings have just kicked off, but they're all online at your own pace. So we can accept more applications. I think last look, we had about 440 applications in for 2022. So it's very exciting, but we have room for additional ones. So go on there, apply to host, apply to volunteer. And, if you want to make a donation, that's also a wonderful thing, because you can help send more children onto this experience. So you can easily go on there and find that donate now button and make a donation to to help our program continue to grow.
I was going to mention that as well. You guys are a 501c3 nonprofit, so 501c nonprofit. Always important to make sure if you want to give back a little bit during the holiday season to give back to a great organization like the Progressive Agriculture Foundation. Jana, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks for joining us here for the December safety message, and I will wish you and your family and everyone at the Progressive Agriculture Foundation a safe and happy holiday season.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Thank you again for a wonderful year of helping get our safety and health messages out there to your listeners. And I wish you a very happy holiday season as well.